Welcome back. We're here to talk about a very unique saber. This is the, can I get it all on screen? Checking my notes here. SpaceJunk sabers and Starfall Dark Ember custom Reek Horn. Okay, so my client sent this to me saying this was something that Nevin put together after acquiring one of the Dark Ember hilts, which was a team up between Starfall and I'm blanking on which saber company that is. It'll come to me. Anyhow, so Nevin did his thing on it. We got this crazy blade here attached to the emitter. And then one of the unique things about the Dark Ember is it has this curve. So Nevin followed that with this Reek Horn, and the Reek is the creature that Obi-Wan fought in the arena in the prequel trilogy when Padme and Anakin were tied up. Yeah, forgive me for having to relay all that, but that was something that my client had sent me literally just the other day. So I had done this, I kept calling this to myself the Crate Dragon Saber because I thought this was, a resin printed horn or claw from a Crate Dragon. So in that regard, what I did was put a Noah Drew marble in here as if it were some sort of crate pearl. So I created this custom chassis. This grip slides around to close off the saber. So what I did was created a reveal with a lid so that we could have a access to a battery. And this is a kind of a unique saber design. So it could be fully removable. However, the way I designed these switches, I thought it made sense to make it more lived in. So they can be removed if something needs to be worked on, but for the most part, it lives in the hilt. So with that regard, you would take the brass lid off for the crystal reveal. And we've got this 18350 battery here, so you can pull that out and then replace as necessary. And then you have access to your tilted Proffie here. So let's do this. Let's hop down to the overhead camera here and show this off in a little bit more detail. We'll cover some of the specifics that I began to start to talk about there with the component design, and then talk about some of the functions, and then we'll put a blade in it for a little bit, but it's going to be a return client, so most of the functions and blade styles are repetitive from previous installs, so really it's just about the chassis reel. So let's do that now. Okay, so obviously a giant saber. For the most part, the chassis is like just here, and this part is like this all one piece. So the sound venting actually comes through. I don't know if this will show up on camera. Yeah, there you can go. You can sort of see through the holes. Each one of these screws has a hole in it for sound venting. If you do kind of leave it in the reveal state, you'll get a better sound quality because there's more place for the sound to escape from. This horn kind of does a little bit of muffling. This is a 24 millimeter bass speaker from KR. But yeah, I mean, just a really, really unique saber. This one does feature a new, let me take this blade plug out. You can see we kind of had to tilt the old stand here just to get it all on screen. This is the Goth3D emitter PCB. So this is something new.
Party saber.
And I was able to subblade it. John at Sabers Forever was able to provide Rick at Goth some kind of advice on how he would want to see a PCB. And all of my high-end clients prefer to do this like off-state animation in the emitter PCB. And to do that with the shadow foil or the stock, you would have to remove an extra resistor if you wanted to run a single line and then have these NeoPixels be in series. So the nice thing about this is, one, there's a few more pixels than there would be regularly, like on the stock V4, there's 16 pixels. On the shadow foil that I have one left of, there's 24, and this has 28. It also comes with the little diffuser. That's not an extra upcharge, it just comes with the PCB. I did buy 10 of the last 20 of these, but Rick, when I reached out, said he's going to get on and order some more. But yeah, I got to thank John for hipping me to that. All right, so that's up top. Again, that is in series with the main blade. This is a 1-inch diameter neopixel emitter. I will say to the client, this is a little bit wider than a standard 1-inch. So I would suggest either using an unsanded, like a brand new blade if you've got one, or maybe putting a little bit of tape on your blade if you've got an older one to take up some of the slack. Otherwise, if you like push with your thumb screw here for blade retention, you may get out of alignment. I'm going to demo this with an adapter, which should help me kind of not avoid that. So just a heads up. And I have programmed this saber for a 36-inch blade length, but this has OS 8. I'm running the master file because this is one of two sabers I'm working on for this particular customer, and the other saber requires OS 8. And so if you stick around for the next couple days or so, whenever I finish that, you'll understand why. But yeah, really cool brass greebly lid. Obviously, there's some inspiration here from Tim at Tierfont Orbital. And then I, like I said, used a Noah Drew holocron marble. That's a synthetic cuboid opal in the center of this smoky glass orb. And behind it is a stock small accent ring. So there's 11 pixels behind it, but I also lit it underneath with a single 50-50 accent, and those are independent. So I didn't do a great job of like really showing off like what can happen. I kind of relied on some blade styles I've kept from like other Starfall installs where there's the crystal chamber and then there's a strip behind it. So most of the animations are either ring chasing or like flashing or stuff like that, whereas the underneath is kind of the main color. But with the fact that there's two things here, really cool things can happen. So hopefully the customer decides to test that out. 18350 battery with my battery wrap here. Now again, there's no kill switch on this, so you are the kill switch. You can get in here to take this out with your fingernail if you've got one. I've been having to use a thumb because I kind of keep my fingernail short. But we've got a Proffie V3, easily accessible. So tweezers will get your SD card out and you can just use a regular old cable if you need to. And then the nice thing is I designed that such that it'll be really out of the way when the lid is on. You won't notice that that's there and you'll get to see most of the chamber accents. I did try a new casting company, but I had to sand all my sprues off, which was no fun. So probably not going to use them again. But they did allow me to get a level of detail that like Craft Cloud probably wouldn't have gotten, maybe. I pushed some boundaries mostly on the lid, not the chamber. But we do have two sets of magnets here, and then underside of the lid, I've got two sets of rectangular magnets. So when there's a battery in, this is really solidly in place, which allows you to kind of, like I said, keep it open. But if you want to close everything up, it's easily addressable with this little thumb screw, and then you just rotate that around. Again, that does muffle the sound a little bit, but when you're actually swinging a blade around, highly recommend doing that. I do have this because it's an 18350 set for a 5-minute timer, but we can sort of reset it here. Yeah, there we go.
Nothing we couldn't handle.
By just pushing against the spring, so that'll kind of reset it. And then I've been testing this, so my battery level is around 50%. So we may start to experience some sound issues. So what I did for the switches is on the chassis, I put two like big square buttons. And then I have these antique brass thumb screw for like ceiling fan parts that I found on Amazon. So I had to shave it down so it just barely sticks up. And then on the inside of the chassis, there's a hex nut that screws into. So now we can...
Ninth sister.
This is, if the chamber's facing you, right is aux, left is power. But if you do kind of put this on, I'm not really sure how you're going to prefer to hold it, but just know that actually if the blade is facing you, then right is aux and left is power. So just a heads up there. So yeah, and you definitely want to keep this kind of in place just for keeping everything secure. The battery's definitely not going to jump out, because what I did with the position of these magnets, they kind of like, there's a little bit of an overlay. So like the battery can't just like fly out. You have to kind of push it and lift it out. So, but yeah, let's try this off. Let's show off a couple things here. So you can see the circle going around is like a yellowish color, and it's getting way washed out. Let's go up top and see if it looks better up here. Yeah, probably just washing out on camera, but definitely super cool in person. So what I might do, just to kind of demonstrate this here on the table, is take the horn off so we can definitely hear some stuff. So just to kind of go through some stuff. So yeah, this is kind of the main body. I had to kind of make sure that the speaker sat offset of this transition here. And so that's why we've got like the battery up here so we can make it fully removable, and then the chassis lives in. So I did put a little bit of, what do we call this? T7000. This is a tip I got from Brian Lynn over at Civilized Weaponry Services. So these won't like rotate out. The first time I used this was on a personal saber, and the thing I kept noticing is the more you use the buttons, the more you're like kind of rotating the screw. And so now these won't rotate. Really cool. And I'm about to stab my monitor just trying to show this off to you. So we got a bunch of the Acolyte series characters. And again, like I said, this is for one of two sabers. So the other saber I'm working on,
My name is Jord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order.
You'll know why I put like a ton of those characters on here. Let's actually turn this light off. Nope, that's worse. All right.
Kalnaka.
But yeah. But like I said, plenty of volume if you're leaving it in reveal mode. It's just the only way for the air to escape is through here once this is gripped. And once this is closed up, you actually do kind of feel it in hand. So let's show this off with a blade in it. This is a 1-inch diameter emitter, and we just have a thumb screw there for our retention. I'm going to use my 7/8 quantum blade with a bit of an adapter here so I can make sure that the blade stays put, and then all of the take up is against the adapter. So if the blade manages to swing out in my demo, you'll know why. It's because it's not actually being touched by that. So that being said, really long saber, but pretty comfortable depending on how you want to hold it. So let's go up to the top. So this has a bunch of presets.
Party saber.
And for the most part, this customer likes the party saber mode, so we'll show that off. But yeah, once everything's in, again, most of the volume will come out through these holes and through the reveal, unless you have the grip. So I might switch that so you can hear it. And it sounds like I'm already getting some audio distortion. So I might switch batteries and restart this. But yeah, to do our party saber mode, now, tough. And then if you'll notice on these, the crystal color matches that, so. Also, we have the voice pack, so if we do want to test the battery level.
Battery level, 44%.
Okay. And I'm hearing a little bit, but see, I'm still in party mode. And there goes the blade, so.
Ninth sister.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video here and put a new battery in. All right, so I put a new battery in, and if we want to check.
Battery level, 92%.
Okay, so I've got Din Djarin, because I thought this was like a crate horn thing, and I thought that would be the most logical choice, but apparently this is a Reek Horn, so maybe we'll switch that out later on. But as far as the Proffie OS voice packs, if there's a character that matches a font that's already on here, and it's one that Brian Connor has done the voice pack for, then I will have put that into that font folder, and so it'll change depending on which preset we're on. So we're currently on Ninth Sister, which is the second.
OSHA.
Now we're on OSHA, and so OSHA has the crystal bleed. So if we demonstrate that real quick with special ability 1. And I'll show off the marble will change to red once it's done as well. And the flashing green is a thing behind it, but you can see when it's not flashing green, it's red. And then if we switch back, doing special ability 2 is a quick change, so you don't have to do that. And now we can see we're back to blue. So those match up. Let me go ahead and close the grip up so we can hear the sound quality. And I'm hoping, since I do most of these demos with this DJI mic, hopefully we can tell, since this will be similar to my other demos, how this picks up now that everything's closed up. So let's switch fonts.
Chimere?
So now we're on Chimere. Definitely a little bit quieter. We do have gesture, so twist on and twist off. Thrust on is a little bit more finicky because the board's at that angle and because of how this horn sits on your hand. And as with all my sabers, if you use a gesture, you get into battle mode, and so you don't have to use a button to engage lockups. But we're going to use the buttons for the most part because it's just as easy. So when you want to do a clash, you can just hit the saber. And then if you want to engage a lockup, hold either aux or power as you clash. And for as long as you're holding that button, it'll do it. If you want to do a lightning block, you have to hold power and tap aux. Right? And if you want to do a melt, you have to be sideways and hold one of those two buttons when you clash. Right? And then down for drag. And hopefully, again, that's picking up on this audio. So let's open this back up, keep it showing off and getting more sound. I just wanted to let the customer know what the quality would be when the grip is open versus off, because this is a very unique saber. And when I sent him a quick little demo to let him know that it was wired, the iPhone kind of made it sound a little bit louder than it normally would be because they have the automatic compression setting on there. So,
Jackie.
on to Jackie.
My name is Jord Fandar, Knight of the Jet.
Kelnaka.
Master Vanestra.
Let's do one of these. So now the saber is open, getting a lot more sound quality. I have this set to 2700 or 2750, something like that. So if we want to test.
Enter volume menu. Maximum volume.
Yes.
Maximum volume. Maximum volume. Maximum volume. Exit volume menu.
My bad, that was just freaking out there for a second because I wouldn't actually push a button. So anyway.
Padawan Torben.
So yeah, the 18350 is probably not going to last as long as your regular battery, but now that it's fully removable, you can easily get in there, pull it out, pop a new one in. So I'm only going to send it with the one that's currently battery wrapped. This customer does have some other ones that I've wrapped before, or at least sent from other 18350 installs.
Master Indara.
But that pretty much covers it. Again, the saber controls are going to be the same as always for everything. We do have track player mode, so if we want to get into there, hold power. And then designated track if you're pointing straight up. So this one's from Acolyte series. And as usual, there's a ton of fonts on the card, but I've only programmed about maybe, I think, 20-something presets in here. The customer and I have been having conversations about it, because again, this is one of two, and that other saber that's coming up that I'm really excited about, and you'll understand why, has a lot of the same programming, and you'll know when you see it. So that is the saber. When we're ready, we can undo this little blade set screw and then put that down. This does come with a blade plug, but again, I'll show off the new Goth, and you can sort of see that cruciform orientation of those pixels. But then we just put our little blade plug in here and we're good to go. And then, like I said, 5-minute idle mode. So if you leave it on the shelf after 5 minutes, it will turn off. I'm going to use my tool because my fingernails aren't long, but the battery comes out. Again, this is just one that was charged fully, and then we can put the cover on. Again, the battery will secure that more because more of the magnets will touch, but this is perfectly fine to close up if we are going to be charging. So that is the SpaceJunk Starfall Dark Ember Custom Reek Horn. I think I got all the words in there. So yeah, just to show it off again, really cool. You can sort of see the typical appointments of both Nevin and Nick. So we've got like the kind of the older original trilogy style Vader emitter look. Nick's, cut out kind of typical looking grip. But the cool thing with this one, again, is that this thumb screw allows it to reveal, to show off printed brass chamber and lid. So that's the saber. To the customer, appreciate your patience on this one. The surprise here is that I used Noah Drew marble. He was not expecting. We did talk about doing brass, but he did not know that I was going to use my holocron marble. I had set this aside for my ocularis, but most of these sabers that are hanging up over here aren't really even installed. Actually, these are the few that are. So, so I was never going to get around to it. And when I do get around to it, I can always just order another one from Noah. But yeah, so we got holocron marble in there. Really cool concept of a saber. Very unique. Very few that have like the claw, the Reek claw, or any kind of claw whatsoever. So yeah, comfortable to hold. You can swing it around with the reveal section off and to get some more sound. But again, if you're going to be doing any light dueling, then you can close up the grip and then swing away. But again, just be mindful that the blade, it's like a 25.75 versus like a 25.4, 25.5, 1 inch. So there's just that little bit of extra can maybe kick the 1 inch blade off of center if you tighten too hard on your set screw. So just a heads up to the customer. But for the most part, yeah, just a great, very interesting, typical of Nevin and Starfall stuff. But yeah, this was assembled by Nevin over at SpaceJunk Sabers. And this is the SpaceJunk Starfall mashup custom Reek Horn Dark Ember. So, to the customer, again, appreciate your patience. To everyone out there, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.